Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Ooh, I cannot hear you. I need headphones? I don't have any audio. I can't hear you. No. No. Yes. He's all the way up. Where's Anna? Shut up. It's very staticky. Hello, can you hear me? One sec, I gotta get the kids. One sec. Hi, Todd. Excuse me. Quietly find a seat. See the kids? All right, go sit down. It's so quick for you. We just have to have a lot of quiet. Go
Okay, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
What?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes. Okay. Me, can you hear all the kids?
Yeah, I can hear you. So you you for a moment.
What?
I'm going to be in charge of muting you off and on, okay?
Okay, I'm going to try to put you on the microphone.
Okay. Can you guys hear me out there? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, wave. Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Okay, so all you fourth graders over there, the only way this will work is if you guys are quiet while we're talking. Otherwise, I won't be able to hear you, and you will not be able to hear me. Do you understand? Hold on. Okay, Elsie, you have muted yourself. You need to unmute you. Do you see on your little window? There's a little arrow that points down. You click on that, and it will unmute you. LaCrista, do you see what I'm saying? There's, in your little window at the bottom of your screen, you see there's a little window that says me and a little window that says LaCrista, and there's a little downward-facing arrow at the top right corner. Click on that and press the unmute. Do you see what I mean? Okay, look at the top of the Hangout window, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 icons. One of them should be microphone. Click on that. Still says you're muted. What was it that you plugged in? Unplug it. You'll have to unplug it. Pull it out. Still muted. Okay, so do you see on the left-hand side of the screen, there's a bunch of icons. The top one is a blue square, like a little, there you are. Now you're back.
I figured it out.
Do you want to try to put the microphone back in and see if you can get it to work?
I think if the kids are quiet, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, can everyone hear me all right? Yeah! Awesome. Hi, guys.
Hi, Todd. We miss you.
Okay. You guys. Okay. I'm going to show you where I'm at as long as you're quiet. You ready? Okay. That's where I'm at right now. I know, you're in the classroom. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what's been going on since I got here, and then I'm going to share with you the hangout that I had this morning with about 10 classrooms here in the Cayman Islands. We had to do it earlier because we're 3 hours ahead of you guys. But I'm still going to share with you the stuff that we did.
Okay, we watched the first half hour of that.
Oh, you already watched it?
Only the first 30.
Okay, perfect. So what's happened so far is we got here and the fish weren't there. And we didn't really know why, and we spent a few days looking for them, and for some reason, even though they've been in the same place for the last 12 years, they moved north about half a kilometer, so about, I don't know, 500 meters, 400 meters north. So we found them. We're not sure why. There's been a few changes in the climate this year. It's been warmer, and there hasn't been as much current. Can anyone tell me why the current is important for the Nassau when they're spawning?
Lucas Hack?
Oh, no, right, I forgot. Sorry.
Huck, come on over.
I feel like they're important.
Huck, what do you think? Why is the current so important?
I feel like they're important because when they are born, they have memorized those currents. So if they don't have those specific currents, they don't know where to be.
Okay, you're really close. Can anyone add to what Huck said?
Marley, why don't you run on over? Quickly, quickly.
Don't actually run.
I think it's important because when the Nassau spawn, they want to get like the eggs away from predators that will eat the eggs.
Okay. Okay, so you're both correct. We don't know exactly how the Nassau know this, but they wait for just the right current. Normally, the currents off of this end of the island will head out in a bunch of different directions away from the island. But on the nights that they spawn, the currents tend to bring the eggs or keep them closer to Little Cayman, so that they can spend some time out in the ocean, out past the reef, for up or two, and then start to come back in. So can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yep.
So the primary reason is that they know, or somehow they're able to tell that the currents are just right to keep their eggs close to the island rather than sending their eggs far away, and then they would never survive. So we have a feeling, we don't really know, it's just theories right now, but we think that because of the warmer temperature, or because of the less current that's been out there, they've moved to a different location. But in any case, we've been able to find them. And so I've been able to go out on a bunch of the dives, and only yesterday did I actually get to dive with the fish, which was really cool. Were you guys able to see any of the video that showed the actual fish?
Yeah.
And did my class get to see it as well?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Does anyone have a question about any of the stuff that you saw so far in that video?
From this morning, the web chat. We'll do Joseph, Ellie, Arlo. Come on over. Quickly, quickly. What's your question?
You can see know exactly why Hula had a band.
Oh,
Color band.
we want to ask you about hula first.
Hula, yeah. We don't know, but what we do know is that the Nassau, like a lot of fish, use their color to communicate. And so when the Nassau are getting close to spawning, they will change to that bicolor phase where they're black on top and white on the bottom. And so we think that for whatever reason, that fish has this special band that happens around the middle, because it's still black and white, just like the bicolor, but rather than having it be on the top and the bottom of the fish, it's down the center. But we don't really know. We also know that sometimes when fish get hurt, especially groupers or fish that change color, that if they've been bitten somewhere, that area will also, it'll bruise, and that's what a bruise will sometimes look like. But we don't think that it's a bruise because it's in too much of a symmetrical shape on the fish. So we don't know, but we like hula.
Oh, yeah. Arlo thought maybe his hypothesis was maybe he got like punctured or something.
Yeah, so that was a good guess, Alder. Is there another question?
Yeah, what was your question from the movie?
How big are the grouper?
So most of the grouper are between 3 and 4 feet, but they can be anywhere from, about a foot. A foot long is about the smallest ones that are out there, and remember they have to be about 7 years old before they're able to go out and start spawning, all the way up to about 3.5 feet. And there's definitely ones out there that are that big. They're huge right now, and the females all have big round bellies that look like they're about to explode.
This is talking about Hula again. Have you seen more fish like her, or is she the only one?
Hula's the only one that we've ever seen. So she's kind of an anomaly that way.
What's your question, Isabella?
Did you like see Lucky anytime when you were diving yesterday?
Good question. We haven't seen Lucky this year. We saw Lucky last year and the year before, but we saw another fish, a smaller fish, about 1.5 feet long, that also had a chunk taken out of its back. Did you guys know why that happened? Isabel, do you have a guess?
A shark, maybe?
He didn't hear you.
A what?
A shark?
Absolutely. It was from a shark. Most likely a shark. Those are pretty much the only fish big enough to take a big chunk out of a Nassau. They're both at the top of the food web, as you guys know. But the sharks are definitely one of the only predators of the Nassau grouper. Does anyone else know what the other major predator of the grouper is?
People are.
That's right. A+, gold star for you. All right. Are there any other questions about what you guys have seen so far, or about anything that I've been posting on the blog?
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot. Can we do this for a few minutes?
Go for it.
Okay, so let's make a line. We'll go Brennan, Allie, Lucas, Hawk, Gabe, yes, 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 Ralph.
Okay.
You guys be quiet though. Go ahead.
Was he eating fish?
Wait, who is that? I can't see. Is that Brennan?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you were, what's the fish ID post?
Yeah.
Was the second one a tiger grouper?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of studying of the tiger grouper on this year's project because a lot of the tiger grouper are also spawning there at the same time. Although they don't spawn in the same way that the Nassau, where they go up into the water column and they release their eggs and their sperm. The tiger groupers stay close to the ocean floor, close to the bottom, and it's only just a couple of them that do it. Good question, Brennan. Good answer.
On the web chat that we saw,
Yeah?
the grouper that had the fishing line in it,
Yes.
do you know when that happened? How recent it was?
We don't know. We would probably have to catch it and take a look at the hook to have any good idea. But we've seen a few of them with hooks and line in their mouths. So that tells us that people are fishing them. And that's good for you guys to see and for everyone here to see as well, because a lot of people think that people really aren't fishing them and that's not really having an impact on their population, but it is. And so that kind of proves that point, seeing them out there with hooks in their mouths.
Was the fish okay?
The fish is, it's not ideal, certainly. That you could probably imagine things that could happen because of that hook being in its mouth. It could get infected. The fishing line could get stuck on something, and then the fish would be stuck. So it looks okay now, but hopefully at some point that hook will come out. That's what we hope. But I've seen hooks like that on sharks as well, and sometimes they live, and I guess sometimes they probably don't survive. Good question, Allie.
Hi, Todd.
Hi, Lucas.
So what class in Seattle were you talking to?
Oh, good question. I was talking to the Center School, which is the high school at Seattle Center. And there's a student that used to be at Thornton Creek, Maya Peterson. She's going to school there, and her mom, Michaela, is a teacher there. And Zeke is her little brother. Zeke is in Sandra's class. So I was talking to their classroom.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bye, Todd. I miss you. Hey, Todd.
Hello.
I was
Got
just
another-
wondering
Huh?
if you counted any fish. How many fish have you counted?
Oh. Counting fish is really hard.
As the time you've been in the Caribbean. Like, this time.
Well, so I've only gone out and done fish counts a couple of times because you have to kind of know how to do it, and it's not easy to do. And the way that they do it is at the beginning of the Grouper Moon project every year, the researchers will go out and they'll put tags in the side of the grouper. Like you saw the tag on the side of that grouper today so they'll put, how many do they put in? Maybe 100? I think they put 100 of them out there. And then we do a bunch of counts of 50 fish. So you find a spot where there's a bunch of fish in front of you and you count to 50. And then you keep track of how many of those 50 have a tag on them. And after they do that count like a few hundred times, it gives them an idea of the ratio between tags to the rest of the fish, which tells them that this year we have probably around 4,000, 4,500 fish.
One more thing.
Yeah.
About how you know the currents, I bet this is a definite yes. Have people dissected grouper to find out?
I don't know. No, I don't think that anyone has dissected a grouper to find out how they know. A lot of marine animals use the tides and all sorts of other indicators that are happening out there in the ocean that we don't know everything about to tell them when it's time to do something, when it's time to go to their spawning aggregation, or when it's time to move to another location. You know, there's fish that will move all over the place. So no one really knows yet. It's probably something in their brain, a sense that they have.
That tells them what the current should be?
Well, we don't know, but my idea is that there'll be a little light bulb that goes off in their head once the conditions are just right that says, oh, now you want to start going to spawn.
Good question.
Good question, Huck.
How many females have you counted this year?
Say that again?
How many females have you counted this year?
Well, it's not easy to tell the difference between the males and the females. But when we're out there, you can mostly tell just by the size of the belly. If it's a really big belly, then it's likely to be a female. And of the ones that I saw more males than I saw females, you know, but I don't know the exact. That's not one of the numbers that they're trying to collect, I don't think. But what they do know is that they're collecting, they collect eggs, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, or the next chat that we have. So when the spawning happens, and it only happens at night when the sun's going down during the changeover, and they've been doing it for the last couple of nights, they go out there with nets and they go through the water when they're actually releasing their sperm and eggs, and they will collect those sperm and eggs. And then they take them back and they ship them to the United States to a scientist in a lab who will then do genetic study of those eggs to tell how many different females and how many different males are out there. So when we talk to the scientists, the next time that I am meeting with you guys, I'll have a couple of scientists with me and you can ask them that question. They can explain it a little bit more.
Okay.
Oh.
Have fun.
Do fish ever get eaten at the site? Like at the site?
Yes. Yeah, so did you see, if you scroll down on the blog to last year's posts, we actually rescued a grouper that had been attacked by a shark at the aggregation site. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It had a big chunk taken out of its head. And there's another video if you scroll down from last year that shows a shark. It shows a bunch of fish that are spawning, and it shows a shark come from behind and go right in there and try to catch one. He didn't catch it, but if you scroll down in those blog posts I did from last year, you'll find that video, and you can watch a shark try to eat one. So they do get eaten, but not a lot.
Well, how many, why do, the same, kind of fish have, different, colors, white, some fish are white, and, some fish are, black?
Right. That's a good question. So normally when they're on their home reef and they're not spawning, they have that brown and white tiger stripe color. You know what I'm talking about? Like on the cover of the Grouper Moon book, and you see Cooper the grouper and he looks tiger stripe. That's how they normally look. But when they're interacting with each other and I've shown you a few videos of that, they'll quickly change color to black on top and white on bottom. And that's when they're communicating. Well, when they're at the aggregation, you see all kinds of colors going on, but mostly it's blacks, whites, black and white, or their tiger stripe coloration. And they can change like that really fast. So it's just to tell them, it's to communicate with each other. Good question, Kyle.
So, how do you know that hula is a Nassau grouper?
Well,
Hold on. Wait.
what?
I just want to put the other microphone on. Okay, that's a really great question. Did everyone on the tables hear that question?
Okay, so the question was, how do we know that hula is a Nassau grouper? And we know because she has all the physical characteristics of a Nassau. She has the same body shape. She has the same large mouth and big lips. You can still see, even though she's got that bar around her middle, that you can see the outline of the stripes that are normally there. So we definitely know she's a Nassau. Good question.
Thanks.
We need to separate that.
Charlie, don't do ears behind people. That's rude.
Todd, will I get in trouble? Will I get in trouble? Will I get in trouble because I fell asleep at the Don Quixote thing?
No.
Same here.
Okay.
Hey, Charlie, I expect you to come up with a real question and come back in a minute, okay?
Do females spawn more than males, or do males spawn more than females?
Okay, good question. So what happens usually is there'll be one female, and there'll be a group of maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 males that will chase that female up into the water column. And when they do that, the female will release hundreds of thousands of eggs. And the older and bigger the fish is, the more eggs they release. And then, 7 or 8 males will also release their sperm at the same time. So it seems like it's probably less females and more males.
Less females.
Okay, thank you.
Great question.
Every year.
Are you ready, Charlie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one more. Charlie's back.
All right. How many groupers have you counted in all?
How many grouper have I counted in all?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, on this trip or in all of the trips that I've done?
How many times have you been diving all the days that you're there?
So the days that I've been here so far, I've been on 4, 5 dives.
All right.
Hey Todd,
Hi.
how many Nassau groupers live in one reef?
How many Nassau live on one reef?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. Well, as you know, Nassau are territorial, so there'll only be one in one particular area. And you're gonna see a regular part of the reef. So where you're looking at, when Bryce and Christy went down earlier today, that wasn't on a typical reef where people dive because it's too deep and it's right on the edge. And once you go over that edge, it goes down about 1,000 feet. It's really deep. So that's not a normal place that's not where they normally live. They normally live on patch reefs that are a bit shallower, a bit closer to the island. And when we're out there, we might see 4 or 5 of them on a dive in one reef.
Really good question.
Good job, Miss Song.
So how long does it take before the Nassau can spawn?
Well, so they have to be about 7 years old before they can spawn. And then once they're old enough to spawn, they spawn every year until they die. Does that answer your question, Neva?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I do 2 questions?
Yeah.
Right. So the first one is, what is the farthest distance recorded for a grouper going to the particular spawning site you're exploring?
There's too many people talking in the background, so I'm going to wait.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. You guys need to be quiet, otherwise we can't do it. Thank you. So can you ask your question again?
What is the farthest distance recorded for a grouper coming to this site?
That's a good question. The question was, what's the furthest distance a grouper has traveled to go to the spawning site? And we don't know the answer to that. This is one of the only spawning aggregations that has been studied this much. And what we do know is that all the grouper that come to this spawning site are all from Little Cayman. And Little Cayman is only about 12 miles long. So they're just coming from right around the perimeter of this island. So not too far, but certainly some of them are swimming between 10 and maybe 20 miles to get there. And sometimes we've tagged them and watched what they've done, and sometimes they will swim all the way around the island a couple of times before they end up at the right aggregation site, at the right spot. They're kind of looking for where's the good spot to go to, because there used to be more spots. There used to be more aggregation sites on this island that are no longer what they call viable. It means there's no longer enough fish there for them to spawn. So they will check out those old sites, and we don't know how they know that. We don't know how they know that there were old sites there, because they've been dead for quite a while. But they'll still check there, and then they'll come back to this spot.
And number 2 is, do you know the grouper fishing percentage already?
What do you mean?
Well, like, how many grouper have been fished? Because we know that have been fished.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. We know that of the grouper that we're counting here every year, that the number is increasing, so the population's getting bigger, and that's good. And we think that that's primarily because we're protecting them during their spawning time here on the aggregation. But we can tell that they're still being caught, because you guys saw the hook and line in the fish's mouth. So we also know that some are being caught and eaten. And they shouldn't be. They're endangered, but that's what's happening. Good question.
Have they gotten off the endangered list yet?
No. And they're pretty high up on the endangered list. They're up there with the giant panda and like the black rhino. I mean, they're on the verge of extinction. But if we can continue to protect sites like this here, and the scientists, and I've asked them this a bunch of times, I've asked them, do you think that the Nassau can recover? And they do. They think that they can. If we can prove that protecting their spot where they aggregate and spawn every year, if we can just protect that area, that allows them to slowly start building their population back up.
Any more questions? Oh, come on up, Lily.
How long have you been working for the Grouper Moon? Like, have you been working there since it started, or?
No. So, good question. The question was, how long have I been working on the Grouper Moon project? This is my 4th year coming, and this is only the 4th year that we've been doing education as part of the project. The project's been going on for 13 years, and before I started the education portion, it was just the researchers coming out and counting and lasering and trying to protect them during the aggregation time. But then I happen to have taught, I don't know if any of you guys remember Gracie Simmons. She left a few years ago. I don't know if any of you were there yet, but I taught the daughter of 2 of the scientists, Christy and Bryce, that were working on the project. And so they asked me if I would help them start an education program.
Okay, I have another question. How many eggs survive out of all the millions that a female has?
Like how many?
Yes.
Yes, that is an awesome question. There's a couple of answers. So when they spawn, each female could release hundreds of thousands of eggs. And so there's literally billions of eggs out there. When they actually spawn, like you saw during the day, you could see quite far in the water, right? It was pretty clear. The visibility is about 100 feet. You can see about 100 feet in front of you. When they spawn, it goes down to 0. You can't see anything in front of you. It's just clouded. That's how many eggs are in the water. It's insane. And so after that, they drift around out there for about a month. And if they survive that time, they will start heading back into shore. Now, there are many years that it will go in a row where none of them will survive being juveniles. Literally none of them survive. And then you'll have 1 year where thousands will survive. I don't know why that happens, but that there's only been a couple of years we've come out here where we find the little juvenile groupers out here in the turtle grass and in the shallow reefs. And on those years, we know that those groupers spawned the year before and they survived. But there's years that happen where almost none survive.
Wow. That's a really good question.
Thanks, Todd.
Good question, Riley.
You have one more question, Ralph? Come on up, bud.
Has the grouper sizes gone up or down this year?
With, like, how big they are?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of huge fish out there, but there's good news, and the good news is that there's a lot of younger fish that are starting to spawn. Do you know why that might be good news, Ralph?
Because then if younger fish spawn and older fish spawn, it will be more fish spawning altogether.
Yeah, it means that there's more fish that are surviving to be old enough to start spawning, and that's how the aggregation's going to get bigger. So the more we see these younger fish starting to come, the more we know that the population's getting bigger.
Yeah, because we just have the old fish spawning all the time. Where's all the new moms and dads? Yeah, okay.
What else did you have on the docket for us, Todd?
I have a couple of video clips that I can share for you if you're done with questions.
Are we done with questions?
No, I haven't asked any questions.
Okay, Ben, come on up.
Hi, Todd.
Hello.
Have you ever caught someone like trying to fish grouper?
That's a great question. I have not. But the reason that they found this aggregation site was because some people found a bunch of fishermen out there fishing and catching all these grouper one year, and it was because they were out there fishing them that we found that spot.
Does that make sense, Ben? Is it a serious question? Yes.
Hey, Todd.
Hi.
Is there like any really like serious problems that is happening to like the grouper moon's like population, like really big problems?
Well, the population is already in big trouble, which is why it's an endangered species. And it's throughout the Caribbean, it's not getting much better. But here on Little Cayman, it is, and that's the good news. And every year we're seeing more and more fish. So it's good news, but then there's also the bad news that throughout the Caribbean, they're not really recovering. But we're hoping that if we can prove that protecting those aggregation sites helps to increase the population, that then other countries in the Caribbean will start doing the same thing.
Yay!
Yay! And I'm going to have you guys write some letters to the government down here to try to encourage them to do that.
This isn't necessarily about groupers.
Hold on just a second.
Guys,
Okay, I'm going to ask you to wait, Marley, because there's too much talking.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
On the fish ID thing,
Yeah.
I was wondering what number 4 was.
The little fish.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Was anyone able to figure that out? I haven't checked all the comments today.
we had a couple guesses. I think the most popular guess was that it was a damselfish.
You're right. It is a damselfish. I'm not going to tell you what kind, though. There's several species of damselfish. You need to look it up and look at the color. Okay?
Yeah, our next guess was a 3-spotted one because we saw 3 different types of colors. Oh, we did it! Yay!
Yeah, good job. So, and if you guys look in the Reef Southern Atlantic Caribbean field guide for fish, you can find it in there.
Great.
Awesome.
Good job.
Okay, I think we're good on questions for a minute here.
I have a question.
Never mind.
I have a question.
Hurry up,
Okay. The rest of you still need to be quiet. You're doing a good job.
I have a few questions.
Okay. Okay, hold on for just a second. I'm going to wait for everyone to be quiet. I know it's been a long day and it's hard to sit here during all this, but I need your cooperation.
Ladies.
Just wondering, have there been any other fish like hula found?
How big is hula?
No. Has there been any other fish like
No.
hula?
Nope. Hula's the only one we've seen.
And it looks like there's like a blue parrot swinging in the tree behind you.
No, that's actually what's hanging in the trees there. That's a hammock.
Oh.
But there are parrots here in the Cayman Islands. There's actually hundreds of species of birds that live here, and they're amazing.
Cool. Thank you.
Good question.
How many?
Okay, keep quiet, the rest of you.
How many populations of grouper have died out, or have there been any died out, or have they just gotten really endangered?
How many have died out?
Yeah, or
Are you asking about specific species?
yeah, like species of grouper.
Yeah, like different types of grouper.
Yeah. I don't think that there are other species. There's not other species that I know that are on the endangered species list. But when we talk to the scientists, the next time that we have a chat together and one of them's here, they could probably tell you better. There are a few other species that are getting close to being extinct. For example, the eagle ray, the spotted eagle ray that I posted, they are on the verge of being on the endangered species list. And there's other species here like the queen conch. Where I showed you guys this shell here. These are endangered as well. And the spiny lobster is endangered. And there's others as well, but those are a couple of examples.
Okay, that's a good question, Eva.
Good question, Eva.
Why?
Guys. Okay, go ahead.
Why can't you put like a barrier or a wall around the site?
Good question.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. If we put the question was why don't we put a barrier around the site to protect them, and that would make it impossible for the fish to get in or to get back out. They have to be able to get in. But what we are doing is creating imaginary boundaries around the aggregation site where fishermen are not allowed to go. And as long as we've been here since that first year, we haven't seen any fishermen out there fishing during the aggregation.
Okay.
Good question.
On the fish ID, what was the third and first one?
The third and first one. Okay, well, I'm going to throw that back at you guys to raise your hand without blurting out. Who thinks they know what the first one was?
What do you think it was?
The spotted moray eel.
That's right. It was a spotted moray eel. Good one. And then what was the other one? The third one?
It looked like some kind of tubers coming out.
Oh, yeah. So did anyone raise your hand? Did anyone figure out what those are?
Max has an idea.
Yeah.
I think they're eelgrass. Because I did like a
They're actually eels, and they're called garden eels. And they live in holes, and they slowly come up like this, and they're about this long, but they live down in their hole, and they just come up and they hang there, and they wait for food to come by, and they eat it, and then they come down. But when you get too close to them, they all will go down. But they're called garden eels because it looks like there's a whole field, like a whole garden of them out there.
I forgot the name. They are garden eels.
Good job, Max.
And is there someone in front of you that you're conversing with?
There's someone that I'm conversing with?
Is there anyone in front of you besides us?
Well, there's a couple of other scientists here that are doing work. Do you want to see?
Yeah.
Yay!
There they are.
Hi.
Yeah, they're very busy doing extremely important scientific work right now.
Like Facebook.
Sure.
All right, last question. Doesn't it hurt?
Okay, hold on. Allie, wait for a second. So we can do more questions, you guys, but you have to keep quiet. You got to wait your turn. I know it's hard to do, but I know you can do it. Okay, we've only got maybe 15 more minutes, so let's try to get in as many as we can.
Go ahead. Doesn't it hurt the population if you collect eggs?
Good question. Do you remember, Allie, how many eggs I said that they release?
Hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. Each female releases hundreds of thousands. And if there are a couple of thousand females out there, then the number of eggs that we're taking won't really have an effect. But that's an excellent question.
I have a question. Did you not know what to expect your first year there?
Did I know what to expect?
Yeah.
No, I had no idea. The first year I came and done this, I had never gone diving before, and I had never been to the Caribbean before. So it was all new to me. But I love it.
Thanks, Todd.
Anyone else? Come on.
Hey, you're doing a good job of keeping quiet. Keep it up, guys.
Are the groupers the only endangered kind of grouper? Like,
So the question was, are the groupers the only endangered kind of grouper? And it's the only one that I know of. But when we have our next video chat and one of Christy or Bryce Simmons, the scientists, are here, you can ask them that question. They could probably tell you a little bit better if there's other species around. But there's species of grouper that exist all over the world. But the Nassau grouper is only found here in the Caribbean.
so like the tiger grouper is not an endangered.
No, there's many, many tiger grouper. You see them on every dive all over the Cayman Islands and throughout the Caribbean.
That's a good question.
Good question.
Is it like house you're sitting in? Is that the house, or like that like is next to the hotel of like
Yeah. So when I say there's a hotel we're next to, I only mean that there's a couple of buildings that are on the beach that people can rent and stay at. It's not a big hotel, but we are staying at the house of the owner it's called the Southern Cross Club. And his name is Peter Hillenbrand, and he's a really amazing, wonderful guy. I would introduce you guys to him, but he just left this morning to go back to, he's from Ohio, and so he goes there often to work on his farm. So he's there right now, and he there's been 15 to 20 scientists inside and outside of his house for the last week, and we'll be here for the rest of this week as well. Good question, Kyle.
Are the Nassau groupers, like, would they be fished by hooks or nets?
Good question. They are only fished by hooks primarily, and usually just by just regular fishermen. They're not what we call a commercial fishery. There aren't huge fishing boats that go out and set nets and catch them. It's just people going out with hook and line and catching them that way.
Good question.
Good question.
Hello. Do you know how many fish made it to, like, all the way to the spawning grounds?
The count that they have right now is around 4,000.
But they're not done counting yet.
They're not. We'll be counting for another day or two.
Good question.
Good question, Malcolm.
How are spotted eagle rays getting endangered? Well, getting close to being endangered.
Yeah, like what's putting them at risk?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, a lot of rays, as far as I know, are caught, and people will catch them for their gill rakers. And the gill rakers are where they filter their food through, or the water through to get oxygen. And so they're caught for that, and which is bad. But I don't actually know why spotted eagle ray is. I would assume that it has to do with the destruction of their habitat, and that's really one of the biggest problems throughout is that the coral reefs are dying. Good question.
Haven't seen any other kinds of grouper, like not like actually spawning at the spawning aggregation, just kind of there?
Like, do other kinds of grouper just go to the spawning grounds to chill?
Yeah, so the spawning grounds we're learning are actually really important biologically for a lot of marine species. We find yellowfin grouper there spawning. We find the tiger grouper there spawning. We find black grouper there spawning. And we also see horse-eyed jacks, like big schools of jacks will come through and they'll be spawning at the same time. And at that same site throughout the year, other types of fish will go to that particular spot and spawn there as well. So there's something really special about that place.
Good question. One more thing. Is the beak-like thing on the spotted eagle ray actually its mouth? Or is it actually underneath it?
No, that is its mouth. And it's got it looks like a little beak. And they eat mostly crustaceans. And they are probably one of my favorite fish that you see in the Caribbean. They're amazing, and they often travel in groups, and so you might see like 7 or 8 of them together, and they just look like they're flying through the water, and they're beautiful.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea why Hula has that like black band around her?
We don't know. There's some theories that maybe she got hurt, but I just think that she was born a little bit different than the rest, and I think that's awesome.
Good question.
Good question, Elliot.
Yesterday night I told my mom how big the Goliath grouper was, and so we looked up videos on it, and there's this one video of a full-grown male Goliath grouper, and there was a reef shark that was on a fish line, and the grouper swallowed the reef shark whole.
I saw that too. So cool.
Yeah, so the Goliath grouper can be as big as me.
Just came out the way.
But as big as me, but weigh up to like 600 pounds, like huge. You guys see something cool? I don't know if you can see it. I'm gonna hold the camera up and see if you can see. There's birds flying up there. Can you see them up there?
Yeah.
Is it too far away for them to see?
No, we see it.
So those birds are called frigates, and there's a huge pond right behind Peter's house, and hundreds, maybe thousands of them live there. And there's actually been a couple of PBS documentaries done on that frigate, and there's another kind of bird there. They're called boobies, and they all live there together. And every night you can go walking out there, and it sounds like there's a gazillion people out there chattering, and they're all night long fighting over where to sleep. And the really cool thing about them is that the frigates will attack the boobies, and they'll be out fishing all day, and when they come in the evening, they'll attack each other, and they'll make the boobies throw up the food that they caught. And they eat it midair, in the air, while they're flying. They'll attack it, they'll dive bomb it, the booby will throw up its food, and the frigate will eat the food before it even lands. And that's how they have this special relationship together. It's pretty cool.
Hi, Todd. Do you know why the spiny lobster is endangered?
I think that they're endangered from over-harvesting, overfishing, because they taste really good.
Good question.
Good question.
And I have another thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that hula might be like kind of a cross between two types of grouper?
No, we think that hula is definitely a Nassau grouper. We just think that she's special. Sometimes you just get someone that's a little bit different than the rest.
Good question.
That's what I think. It could be injured. It could be an injury for all we know. But she seems to be doing fine. Certainly there at the aggregation spawning.
Todd,
Hi.
have you ever had grouper yourself?
I've never had Nassau grouper, but I've eaten grouper, other species of grouper before. But okay.
I thought you would never eat grouper because you're the one trying to protect them.
Well, the NASA is different than
Well, I know.
Huck, and the rest of you guys, I want you to listen for a second. Oh, hold on, I'm going to show you. There's the frigates, and they're waiting for the boobies to come in, and they're going to dive bomb them and get their food. Can you see them? Wait, right. There they are.
Oh, they're huge.
Yeah, they're gigantic. They're gigantic birds.
Like, wait,
Do you know what their wingspan is?
It looks like it's about 4 feet. They're
It's like
big,
it's told me.
Yeah.
fast, and you can see that they'll be swooping down over the water real fast. I also saw yesterday when we were coming in from our dives, I saw a flying fish. You guys know what fish are? And they'll fly along the side of the boat, and they'll come out of the water, and they'll fly like 100 yards at a time. And they have these huge pectoral fins that come out, and they're really long, and they look like wings. And they'll flap around, and they'll go quite a ways. Barracuda really like to eat them. So sometimes.
And also, when you've gone fishing, not fishing, on dives for grouper, have you seen mullets jumping?
No, there isn't any mullet here.
Oh.
Good question.
Wait, one more. I think we're losing our audience a little bit. We've got maybe one more question in us.
We'll do one more question, guys, and then we're going to wrap it up.
When you saw the flying fish, was it flying out of the water or was it in the water swimming?
It was flying out of the water alongside of the boat.
Oh, very cool.
And we saw a few of them. They're really neat. Okay, you guys, so we're going to wrap this up for today. But what I want you to do is to keep checking the blog every day, and you don't have to wait and do that at school. You can do that at home as well and send me questions, and I will respond to them. And I also want you guys to think about the comment that Huck made about eating fish, because that's a question that we're going to come to during our study of coastal reefs here in the Caribbean and in the Pacific Northwest. If we want to protect fish, does that mean that we can't eat them anymore? And there's different opinions about that. I think that, well, I'm not going to tell you what I think. I want you guys to think about that, and we'll talk more about it. I also want you to be thinking of questions that you have for the next web chat that we have on Wednesday. So have some questions ready to go. Maybe each of you should be coming up with 3 or 4 questions that you want to ask. And they don't have to just be about the Nassau grouper. It could be anything that you think the scientists here might be able to answer for you, or any of the cool gadgets that you've seen the scientists using. All right? It was really good to see you guys. You did such an awesome job.
Say bye.
Bye, guys. All right, calm down.